Good afternoon, or in this case, good evening, since it is actually evening as I am recording this. This is the Propagandacast, back from the holidays and my birthday, by coincidence, and ready to once more cast to deliver glorious German propaganda unto your ears. Yes, indeed, most exciting, most glorious, Force Vaterland, Force Reich, all that, ready, recharged, reloaded, unloaded, reloaded again. All the good stuff. This is going to be sort of swiftly, no sort of too long hanging around here in the beginning, as well this is rather late, and I actually have wound up today. I suppose I have to sort of swiftly get things moving. So who shall be fighting? Well, here in the north, yes indeed it is me. Again, sort of lacking in time, so just won one of my games, if I remember correctly, reasonably exciting. Fighting for 352nd Infantry Division, or Grenadier Division. Opposing me shall be EliteCompanyTank. Yes, indeed. A most descriptive name. Fighting for the Americans for the 3rd Infantry Division. Fighting shall commence. We are seeing the usual barrack start. Wehrmacht quarters going up. I can't remember if it was ranked 12 or 13. Possibly 11. Oh, it's a bit of a time ago, but, you know, thought this has some reasonably interesting action. Americans splitting up to either side, me at least, or at least partially. Wehrmacht quarters on the way. Well, it is up, in fact. Volkskrone is on the way. I'm a bit rusty, I apologize. You know, a bit of 8 days or so without casting. I have to just get back in the groove, get ready again. Volkskrone has arrived, the first team. Yes, indeed, ever lovely. And certainly I have missed Company Fuse myself. I haven't really been able to play it as I was off visiting my parents. So that rather made things a wee bit more difficult. But Volkskrone is heading towards here again. Sort of, and that's rather how I use this map. I sort of use the river as the sort of basic front line. I just try to usually, at the beginning, except for this point here, stick to one side of the river. Thus getting some sort of decent defensive posture. And of course also limiting my opponent, because the river does provide a nice natural barrier, negative cover, and of course it's going to be an easier target, plus, well, there are some slightly more narrow bits there. Rifleman going straight for here, very aggressive move there by EliteCompanyTank right from the beginning. Volkskrone is under fire, opening up on the Rifleman who are crossing around here. Rifleman of course will have to stay out in the open due to the fence. No, in fact they stop right in front of the Volkskrone. However shall this go? Light damage to the Rifleman. Another Volkskrone team is on the way. Volkskrone and Rifleman go down at the same time. Volkskrone is holding on for the Fatherland, gloriously holding the line. Second team arriving, pushing onwards to assist their first comrades. Another go down in the woods. Another Rifleman goes down so far, and in fact, half health, half health. Although the Riflemen are slowly losing this fight. In fact, down to 3 men now. Further Volkskrone arrive, making things a lot nastier for these Americans. Are the Riflemen getting ready? Pioneers arriving towards the center. Again, sort of sticking towards here. Sort of at least I have sort of a basic warning light in case something decides to charge through here. And of course securing this area, and otherwise trying to remain as strong as I can on this side of the river. Of course, you might occasionally run into a bit of trouble there. 3 men, the more depleted ones, going out towards here. Going to get a nasty surprise from these Riflemen, which could very soon force these Volkskrone off the map. Yes, there we go, retreating most swiftly. MG42 on the way to support the other Volkskrone. And Riflemen heading now towards the road here, going once more for this cut-off point, it seems, and once more going to run into some Volkskrone. Not quite keen on that nonsense by those Americans, opening up once more. Rifleman out in the open and charging at the Volkskrone. Volkskrone firing back. MG42 moving in. Rifleman, in fact, taking some damage right here already, without the Volkskrone suffering quite nearly as much. One down. That was unfortunately the squad leader, rather minimizing the amount of damage the Volkskrone team can do. The rest of Riflemen advancing, though, taking some losses. MG42 getting up close. Volkskrone might be losing this ever slowly. Pioneers engaging the engineers. MG42 opening up on the Rifleman, and there we go. Suppressed down to 2 men. And the rest making a run for it while the Pioneers and Engineers engage right here. Pioneers having the certainly better advantage right here behind some cover. And the Engineers, you have to remember, while they're taking a point, in some cases one of them will never fire. So of course that was a lot less firepower, and 2 down, but they do get out there right now, moving towards here. MG42 and Volkskrone is turning towards that. 3rd team on the way, others reinforcing. Pioneers having a bit of work here, though for whatever reasons I can't remember. Possibly just a bit of harassment. But no such luck. Riflemen coming under fire. 3rd team of Volkskrone ready. The others reinforcing still. Bit of fighting here towards the center. So far I'm a bit sort of not doing too well. He has been able to seize most of the territory so far and been able to keep me on the back foot.
We're losing a sector.
And of course now moving towards here, harassing in all points. And of course in this case I probably should sort of delegate all of my infantry here to sort of reinforce this position, but in this case I rather figure I might be able to sort of harass them a bit, you know, do a bit of damage to them. Volkswagen is advancing here, coming under fire though. MG42 not quite ready to provide covering fire. MG42 advances, other Volkswagen moving here to support the pioneers. Riflemen here taking some fire, but they do manage to retake or render this point neutral. Of course, remember, riflemen are much swifter at taking points and rendering them neutral, meaning of course they are quite excellent at harassing, and of course Volkswagen are generally not quite as good as them. Laying down some barbed wire here to sort of create a defensive position, but engineers with flamethrowers are marching up. Volkswagen is trying to probably take them down first. Of course, negative cover means they move slower and of course easier to target, but still they are quickly able to cover the distance, much sadly, but are still able to do some damage, I hope. Engineers almost down. There we go. In fact, burst the flame tank as this last man goes up. And assault from the Volkswagen, figuring this is a last-ditch attempt. And there we go. Stunning and damaging. Could I even kill one? Yes, indeed. One Volkswagen team holding back several riflemen and engineers with flamethrowers. So that was certainly alright there. Riflemen holding up here. MG42 still holding them at bay. And we are seeing some here, of course, trying to retake this point, but the riflemen right there, of course, able to stop that much more swiftly. Not quite what I hoped for. Volkswagen is slowly advancing. Might be laying down some sandbags here first, but no. Thankfully, the American spear tip has been blunted by that heroic action. Of course, at the same time, I have gone blitzkrieg rather the assault nades, or assault grenades. I'm going to call them nades, rather gave that away. And once more counterattacking here. Now, of course, we are seeing BARs have been prepared. I am going for the creek bag, so there's no point in stopping that. Otherwise, of course, I might go on for a sniper or another MG42. Rifleman here taking some losses, not looking too good against the Volksgrenadiere. Might be moving out here, and of course, I could have considered perhaps laying down a mine or some barbed wire before leaving here. Might make things a bit more easier to hold and harder for the Americans to advance. And there we go, advancing towards these rather wounded Volksgrenadiers. Might want to consider them. Pioneers retaking this, and of course, I have managed to sort of achieve my goal of, well, holding most of this on this side of the river. Volksgrenadiers under fire, forced away. Well, moving towards here. Rifleman still holding here. I'm not entirely sure why, of course. Just to basically deny this point. Not quite what I like. But coming under fire from the MG42, getting suppressed. This is less than good for the rifleman. Well, in fact, taking losses. At the same time, of course, we do know what this involves. Of course, we will be going heavier for the infantry. Interestingly enough, we're not seeing a supply yard or a medic station or a triage center. So one has to question the support of its infantry and, of course, the strength of it. Pioneers laying down some mines here just in case it figures he might want to go there. And more mines being laid down here, again, sort of delaying his movements. Grenadiers are ready. Rifleman forced away from the center. MG42 setting up here. Might want to consider getting some movement in towards these pioneers here. Under fire as well. One down, in fact, just as the mine is laid down. Oh, the horror. The horror. The despair. And half-tracks now on the way to sort of support. Possibly on the land from the 2nd Panzer Division. Pioneers there sort of mucking about, hiding up in the barn, opening up on these riflemen, firing away with a flamethrower. In fact, catching some of these riflemen right out there, scorching them. Oh my goodness, incendiary death. Heavy losses for the riflemen. 4 men down, leaving behind only 2 who are quite clearly not very keen on that. Volkswagen is leading in. Grenadiers moving in to support. Opening up on these riflemen, and there we go. The half-track is ready. The other Volkswagen is ready to move in. And giving me some equality in terms of infantry numbers. 4 teams, at least last time I checked. Engineers laying down mines. In fact, he has several engineer teams, if I'm not mistaken. And there we go. Rifleman facing off against the Grenadiers. Rifleman, Volkswagen, and grenade goes off, but does very little. Riflemen are taking damage. Half-track moving in. Volkswagen is moving in to support. One team manning the guns. I couldn't quite get some pioneers to jump in. And they should be supporting. And there we go. Suppressive volley from the rifleman with the BARs, of course, showing what sort of impressive versatility you can get out of your rifleman with BARs. Grenadiers are pinned down. Volkswagen is in within range to get reinforced. Half-track firing ways, suppressing the rifleman. Of course, question is how long until the sticky bombs then. I mean, that's not the unusual thing to see. Engineers advancing. Could be going right into a mine. And there we go. One down. Minor victory here. Mines going down then the center. Everything else pulling back. And the rest advancing here under support of the half-tech. Of course, ensuring everything here will be reinforced. Last engineer makes a run for the American riflemen. We're quick to get out then. We are in fact seeing the supply yard. Might want to consider getting some movement in towards these pioneers here. Volkswagen is ready to move in. And there we go. Rifleman forced away from the center. Riflemen holding up here. Rifleman still holding here. Volkswagen is advancing. Volkswagen is moving in to support. One team manning the guns. I couldn't quite get some pioneers to jump in. And there we go. Suppressing the rifleman with BARs. Grenadiers are pinned down. Volkswagen is moving in to support. One team manning the guns. I couldn't quite get some pioneers to jump in. And there we go. Rifleman facing off against the Grenadiers. Rifleman fully supporting. And I wager what we're seeing there is the sticky bomb upgrade. Let's in fact go look. Yes, indeed. Rather predictable in that case. And of course, I perhaps want to consider, you know, moving the MG42 to sort of shift my focus towards here, since I rather ought to be expecting him coming down. But sadly, I am not thinking that. Not entirely sure why. Grenadiers on the way. A Pack 38, just in case, you know. Never hurts to have a Pack 38 if he gets an M8. Volkswagen is advancing once more up towards here. Half-track ready to provide support fire. Rifleman advancing once more across open terrain. Half-track opening up. Has to be a bit careful, it doesn't get too close. Oh dear, it is too close. It gets sticky bombed. Oh dear, double sticky bombed indeed. Sometimes I do wish that machine gun was a bit quicker at suppressing. Volkswagen taking heavy losses, need to retreat. One team down, the other Volkswagen need to move in to support the half-track, and that needs to get away. And Grenadiers also need to move in again. I should perhaps consider getting that MG over there, but no such luck. Grenadiers, no, instead of moving towards here. Probably going to have a date with a mine. Rifleman moving forwards. Engineers moving into flank. Rifleman taking some losses. Assault from the Volksgrenadiers. And of course, you have to be careful about not trying to hit a moving target. They sadly won't do much there. And of course, engineers prove to be quite a nuisance as well. Half-track needs to get away. And now the Americans are simply just swarming in. Streaming in like a horde of Soviets, I suppose. Half-track keeps finding away. 4 kills so far. Which I suppose is not all bad, plus of course being able to reinforce. The question is, how long will it last? Pioneers moving in to support. I should consider just keeping pulling out that half-track, but sadly no. Or at least just leaving out those other Volkswagens. And there we go, dropping them out. Half-track trying to get away. Volkswagens finding away at the charging riflemen. Pioneers moving in. These chaps, oh, they need to get away. Oh dear, they're not going to make it up. No, I was too slow again. I did not retreat in time. I did not pull out, and rather I'm suffering for that. Half-track firing away. Assault again by the Volkswagens, but they're simply caught up. Oh dear, this could prove to be some very nasty losses. But looks like they might in fact be getting away. And once more, sticky bomb on the half-track. It seems to survive, but of course, probably not for much longer. 6 kill it manages though, so I mean it's not all bad, but pretty much a terrible engagement for me, I'd argue. And sadly, further Volkswagens on the way. Another Grenadier team, and the ones here continuing the duty. Apparently suffering not so badly at the face of that mine. Still holding most of the area. In fact, holding all 3 victory points. And now it's actually time to go and look at EliteCompanyTank. Yes, indeed. Tanky he is indeed. And a quick note, I'll probably skip the mid-game analysis here to sort of get things up so I can ensure it gets up to not today. Again, time was a bit short. So I hope in this case, of course, you will allow me this weakness, this excess of time. Run Rifleman team though pulled away, and again note though, while I have sort of been taking some losses, I've been able to sort of grind down his force as well. They are, as you might notice, in fact quite wounded, not very well standing. In fact, he doesn't have a tree ascend. In fact, now he's going for grenades, so he's rather heavily pushing towards his infantry, but he's not quite supporting it. No medic stations, which is of course fortunate for me. Volkswagen grenadiers pushing onwards. And of course, note these riflemen are not going to hold too much longer. Of course, I could consider getting some infantry for my own infantry, but you know. And there we go, another rifleman down. In fact, his riflemen are there at the edge. And a grenade goes off there. Could it? Yes! And there we go, leaving behind. In fact, most of his forces, that could have been a missed-retreat, though. But there we go again, you know, you have to sort of remember that's certainly where the Wehrmacht can have a bit of an advantage with medic packs, and of course, their veterancy. Although it is sort of slow, it can still be a bit of a help. Engineers laying down mines of their own. Sort of perhaps trying to return the favor I did them right there. A bit of barbed wire to help protect. MG42 still not moved away. I sadly seem to be a bit caught up here, you know. I mean, you have to also sort of keep in mind they're still heavy machine guns, but they still have some mobility, you know. Use them to support the main bulk of your forces. Rather, again, I'm sort of just using it for denial. It's not necessarily always the best idea. And of course, it would rather been easier perhaps just counterattack. And now, in fact, I'm moving it. Rather realizing it's a bit silly to just having standing about there when I'm taking so much beating here. So that's a bit of a bad move on my behalf. I've got a bit too, you know, comfortable with my MG42. Be careful about that. Use it just as you would with your other forces. Of course, just remember, you know, it's a support weapon. And Grenadiers pulling away, having done quite a bit of harassment here, denying another fuel point to the Americans, in fact. And now going for this point, thus cutting north from this fuel point. More mines by the engineers. Certainly not letting up on that. Getting ready here, ready to sort of repel any attacks. Might lay down some sandbags first, though. Grenadiers moving in, but now another assault getting set up. Armored car ready. Armored skirts on the way. He's certainly really laying up for that huge assault. MG42 ready to cover here, although again, perhaps might consider again, sort of here. Pack 38 watching over here, ready to just swiftly turn. And of course, I'll just briefly pause here. I'll try not to pause too much again. Time, as always. Basically, the idea of this is I can sort of quickly react to any sort of thing that might happen. If it goes through here across the bridge, I can turn the Pack 38 here. If they go through here, I can usually just get off a few shots, then sort of advance it towards here. So I'm rather hoping for some increased reaction times on my Pack 38 through that. And of course, also ensuring that if something happens up here, I can also reasonably react. Again, that's sort of the idea of a reserve, and of course being able to react rather swiftly. So sort of things. And Folks going to set up a mine, taking a loss. M8 advances. Grenadiers pulling back towards the safety of the Pack 38 right here, of course, on the ridge, hoping to draw in the M8 Greyhound. And this assault by Volksgrenadiers is rather going to have to get ruined. Damn that Greyhound. But a Sturm Armory is up for the 352nd. Not being stopped by something as silly as Americans with their Greyhounds and all the other stuff. Grenadiers pulling back. MG42 also pulling back, although might want to consider covering this area. Damn Americans moving about, you know. But a bit of barbed wire there. And that's it for now. Counter-attacking through here to retake that area. And interestingly enough, we've actually seen no doctrine from American for an Elite Company tank. And we've certainly not seen any tanks either. How misleading, yes, I know. Silly that. 3rd Infantry Division, they were holding on. Riflemen hanging about as well. Grenadiers with Panzerschrecks, and some without, advancing, and quick salvo cuts 2 down right at the beginning. That is less than great. Greyhound moving towards here. Perhaps he's hoping for a flanking maneuver. Perhaps Greyhound managed to block off this route. Certainly not a bad idea. Sturmgeschütz ready to push, and some other forces moving towards the west to do a bit of work there. Possibly more on the way, or perhaps a Nebelwerfer. Nebelwerfer, certainly a nice weapon in the arsenal of the Wehrmacht. Now he is going for the airborne, and certainly I can't help but notice he's being a bit lax with his usage of units. I mean, he's not laying much down otherwise in defense, nothing that could really help him. He's just standing about with his riflemen. He's not pushing on, he's not using the momentum, you know. When he pushed me back, he sort of just will, let's just wait for him to attack, and that's not necessarily always the best idea. Volkswagen is moving outwards, MP40 supporting them, dropping in an anti-tank gun rather than just building one himself. Not entirely sure that's a great idea. Assault from the Volkswagen with MP40 grenade getting knocked back in return. But the grenade from the Americans miss, and the MP40s and the grenades locked do quite a bit, and they also try to use again the BAR suppressive fire, certainly a nice ability. BAR left behind, Rifleman running away, and the M8 quickly shifting sides. And an armored car joining in for a bit of fun. Setting up for a large assault right here. Or at least a minor assault using some vehicles, perhaps hoping to shock him with the Stug. Coming under fire from the anti-tank gun right away, doing quite a bit of damage there to his Stug, almost down to half health. Continuing in with the armored car, which does manage to kill one rifleman before it pulls away. Volkswagen is pushing through here, or at least hanging about, getting ready for any swift counter-attacks. Certainly not a bad idea though again. Sandbags here would have been a nice idea before. Just standing about, or some barbed wire. Again, a lot of things you can do. Always try to be a bit active, you know, try to teach it yourself. Sadly, I forgot. And again, that's what can happen, but again, that's rather what you train yourself for, so you don't forget it. But still, and of course, this is also part of a larger branching strategy, and some of you might be asking, well, what sort of, and again, that's sort of, again, the sort of way you try to sort of draw him away from his strong points by attacking him elsewhere, thus making him constantly have to run from point A to point B to point C or point A again, thus filling out his defenses. And the Volkswagen is coming fire from the M8 as the charges in, and the Volkswagen, of course, can't really do anything except with Panzerfaust, and that's not really going to cut it. Armored car in right here. No mines, but the Greyhound could be setting up for a large assault, in fact, attacking from numerous points. Grenadiers to sort of support each prong, and a Nebelwerfer ready to support. Really setting up for the assault here. We are now in fact seeing a medic station up. And again, he's really preparing. He's sort of figuring, well, he is going to attack here, and that's brilliant, mate, but you're sort of forgetting some things. Where's the barbed wire, tank traps, sandbags? I mean, you're rather sort of figuring you can all of this, of course, with the broken wall, will hold the attack. That nothing will go wrong, and of course in that case he might run into a bit of a problem. And of course he might not. And here I make a bit of a mistake. In fact, I pull off the Sturmgeschütz to sort of move through there. And that's, again, sort of a mistake there. Pioneers moving to support the Grenadiers. Armor car charges in right in front of the anti-tank gun. Oh dear, Nebelwerfer fires and of course misses everything. I should have perhaps waited a bit. And oh dear, I do load those sticky bombs. LMG 42 and of course 3 sticky bombs, and you've got a wrecked Puma. That was a pretty much botched attack. I did some damage, but nothing near much as I'd hoped. Grenadiers hold the line, hanging out behind the wrecks of the armored car. Stuke holding that M8 at bay, but this is really not going my way. The beautifully orchestrated assault, or at least thought up assault rather, got wrecked the moment I pulled away that Stuke. Volkswagen's getting in to support this, and I rather realize at this stage, I believe that this is probably not going to work. I mean, this is not really best, and again, that's rather why you want to wait with, you know, making a huge assault here again. Very narrow, river, all that, and not really a good spot to lead an attack. And my Volkswagen's in this process, taking heavy losses to this M8 with its 50 caliber machine gun and 37mm gun, and sadly this Duke cannot support it. So again, that's rather again why I sort of stick for first establish this sort of strong point along the river, and then you're going towards peeking at the other side. Now setting up a forward barracks. In fact, he's really laying down the strong point here. He's really, you know, feeling himself very aggressive. Though of course he's not really doing much to defend here, and of course he's probably doing it because, well, here's a building, up here there's not. So of course it could be he's, you know, following that line of thinking, laying down another anti-tank gun by airdrop. That again is not really what I feel is the most optimal idea. I mean, certainly you can use airdrops, but you know, it shouldn't be, you know, your only method of getting anti-tank guns when you have the bleeding motor pool already, yo clockwinder. But of course the 352nd is not to be stopped. ImperialDane will not be denied. So of course I'm laying up for a rather a den style attack through the forest. Nebelwerfer ready in support. Stuke's moving in. Veterancy on the way for the armor and the veterancy. About damn time too. Should have got a medic bunker up sooner though. Grenadiers getting ready. Sturmgeschütz laying up for 2-pronged attacks this time. First Grenadiers supporting the one Stuke. Grenadiers the other Stuke. And a Nebelwerfer to support to hit the strong point. This is what I'd call, or at least I'd like to imagine, is a very nicely coordinated attack. Grenadiers leading the first, giving me the position of the anti-tank gun. He's laying down a machine gun nest, so not entirely a bad idea, but of course, now I know the positions of his thing. Oh dear, mine went off there. One team pulls back, but the Stuke does not get nor do the Grenadiers. And there we go. Strafing run on the Grenadiers, causing heavy losses, but not giving up. Stuke advancing through the south. Volkswagen pushing in. Nebelwerfer hits the emplacement, burning the engineers as they try to lay it down. And the MG42 finally moving towards here to help. It really probably ought to have doing that earlier. And once more end up in that really, really silly position right here. Volkswagen is once more cut off. Armored vehicle once more in trouble as it gets hunted down. Finally moving. Where's that MG? Oh, bother. I'm really not on the MG42 playing right here today, and for that I gravely apologize. Sometimes you do well, other times for some reason you just can't do well. And now the Stuke is being hunted down by the rifleman again, sort of moving them in a blob again. That's just sad to see, I suppose. And here I get sort of, well, I'm probably going to lose it anyway. I might as well try to crush as many Americans as possible beneath it. And of course in this case the veterancy actually help it, because it decreases the damage taken by 15%, which rather does allow it to survive some shots. But this final sticky bomb, yes, does finish it up. Quite tragic. Stormtroopers though called in from the 2nd Panzer Division, more solid Panzer Grenadiers, looking much more aggressive. Still his lines are a bit wrecked. His rifle is still damaged again. No Trier Center, no attempt at healing, and he's rather sticking the rest here. Of course he's digging in, but he's not leaving himself with much of a reserve. He's, as one might put it, he's placing all of his wares right in the shop window, rather leaving me, the burglar, to sort of figuring out, well, that's all the goods where I want him. And of course in this case, of course, now he is forced to retreat, and he can't leave this place. He's really placed himself in a bad position. So of course pushing in with Pioneers, Volkswagen Grenadiers. Stuke might also move in, though he is quickly moving in some other engineers. Stormtroopers immediately open up on that, not having any sense of that. Might want to move in the rest. Come on, Dane. One stormtrooper goes down to the fire, throwing a button grenade, but again, you know, try to be careful with moving targets, heavy losses. And apparently there might have been a bit of trouble here, sort of keeping everything in control. I apologize for that. Bit of bad coordination, and a rifleman team put together here certainly helped. Stuke, though, open up grenadiers, firing away with LMG, blowing away the cover for the riflemen. Might want to, you know, move away forwards my Fultz grenadiers, opening up. Riflemen, they were still surviving. And moving in with another wave. Veterancy 3 riflemen already. Oh dear, oh dear. This is certainly nasty. Fultz grenadiers moving in with grenadiers, and the MG42 never firing away. And of course, I'm firing here because, well, I rather figure, well, this is probably a spot where he might be sending in reinforcements about now. That's something you can do, you know, predict your opponent's movement, and of course, in this case, it turned out to be pretty much correct. Quite fortunately, Stuke taking quite a bit of damage again. 2 sticky bombs. Grenadiers, Fultz grenadiers push forwards, assault on the riflemen. Anti-tank gun getting shot up. And riflemen who do survive the Nebelwerfer run into the MG42 and the grenadiers and the Fultz grenadiers. Oh dear, those grenadiers stun the other grenadiers. That's less than optimal. Riflemen continue, in particular the Veterancy 3, despite all of this fire, but then they're forced to retreat. Simply too much MG fire. Stuke left behind enemy lines. A bit in trouble. Engineers with flamethrowers. Fultz grenadiers, and oh dear, he's drumming in an anti-tank gun. He's hoping to knock out that Stuke, obviously, but I mean, at the same time, he's placing his own anti-tank on at quite a bit of a risk, losing an engineer team in the process. Fultz grenadiers moving in to stop this, but and there we go, anti-tank gun. Oh, not got the Stuke, but at the same time, he's losing his own anti-tank gun. I'm not entirely sure that was worth the cost. I mean, that probably cost more than the Sturmgeschütz. Oh well, Pioneers salvaging the wrecks. Armored car on the move. Fultz grenadiers trying to take this point, others trying to stabilize this, others seizing this gun. Some need to get away. Nebelwerfer with 8 kills. Veterancy 2 on the way from my armor, and of course at this moment I have absolutely no armor. This is a not so brilliant situation. Grenadier slightly pulling back, Pack 38 ready to provide cover. And looks like he's finally shifting some forces away from here, having gone for the munitions point. Of course, he has gone airborne, so he's rather hoping for that to sort of support his strafing run business. Yes, indeed. But we are rather noticing he is using a lot of riflemen. He did certainly do some right things, but a bit too slow here. No other defenses, no barbed wire, which probably could have helped. Now he is going towards the center. And of course, the Nebelwerfer might prove to be a bit of a nice protection against any sort of business right here in the center. Interesting enough, he hits no mines. Engineers pull away and come in fact under fire. Rather fortunately there, due to the rather high spread of the Nebelwerfer. Sending off a mine, taking some losses. Once more pulling off the assault. Perhaps getting ready to call in a Stu 42, salvaging more wrecks, got quite a bit of munitions there. Grenadiers holding the line as Rifle Veterancy 3 lead the charge. Still no triage, and I can't help but feel that's a bit of a grave mistake on his behalf. And assault going off, LMG fire at the riflemen. Lots. Oh dear, I mean, I can certainly see the reason why some players might, you know, go for the whole, hey, let's get off 3 grenades from one point. I mean, if it goes off, it can do a lot of damage. On the other hand, if not, it will. It's a bit of a waste of munitions. Of course, then again, I'm also just wasted 100 munitions just on 2 assaults, which didn't do much, but I had a bit more munitions in that case and not much else to use it on this stage. Stormtroopers are sort of moving into the center, cloaked. MG42 a bit under fire. Pioneers moving about here, salvaging even more munitions. MG42 getting hunted down. Fultz grenadiers moving in quickly. Still no Stu 42. A Stu is on the way though. And the rifle running straight into all of this automatic fire from the Fultz. And a strafing run clearing out the MG42. And a grenade killing absolutely no one. That was less brilliant. And M8 running straight into the Pack 38. And this is less good. Pack 38 cleared out. Nebelwerfer also in trouble. Grenadiers immediately counter-attacking. This is looking less than great. No Pioneers. Grenadiers and Fultz grenadiers heavily wounded. At least some are. grenade and the Nebelwerfer cleared out. Stormtroopers are in a bit of a nasty situation. Might want to consider upgrading those with assault guns or something else. Stuke moves in though. Opening away at the M8. But no such luck, and apparently the riflemen are going straight for this strategic point, despite the fact that this position is coming less than helpful, less than nice. And in fact, forgetting them, losing one rifleman team in the process. Still a decent grasp, then again, he's not really that strong in the defensive. MG-42 has been seized by those dastardly Americans. And the Stu leads the charge. Opening up, Grenadiers firing in support. Nebelwerfer recruit. Other Grenadier team could move into support. And we are seeing the manpower blitz. Yes, once more. Let's do the manpower blitz. Yes, it almost sounds like a song, doesn't it? Not quite like the ballroom blitz, though. Nebelwerfer's firing away at the house with the MG-42. And in a splendid act of German artillery ship, it absolutely misses. Less than good, but more stormtroopers are arriving, and the Stu-42 as well. Will push the advantage. Might also consider getting some veterancy too for the infantry. But this MG-42 is certainly going to be in trouble. There goes Stu-42 firing and missing as well. Absolutely fortunate luck for that gunner right in there so far. And engineers running into troubles, mines and stormtroopers. And the MG-42 finally forced out from there. And of course, again, absolutely no defenses here. What's more meaning that once all of this is gone, I can in fact, if I have the courage and the audacity, swiftly advance and clear out this area. And the M8 got knocked out by this Pak-38, which was recruited, leaving the path open. Except I don't have much infantry to follow up with.
Listen up. Grenadiers ready. We are ready to close with the enemy.
Volksgrenadiers and Grenadiers reinforcing. Let us go return to Elite Company Tank. Finally getting a triage center. I mean, how long has it been into the game? I mean, 30 minutes. That's not good. Are they still retraining most of his veteran troops? He also has some airborne somewhere. Apparently calling in further airborne. Or is that just me? No, that is that one team. Stu-42, Stug. Stormtroopers advancing. Those are still hiding here, ready to ambush anyone. And the rest continue under the supervision of the Nebelwerfer. Certainly perhaps not my brightest game, though I still hope you find it entertaining. Certainly has some nice action, some nice back and forth action. Whew.
Alright, man.
Airborne recruiting the anti-tank, and of course using their ability to reinforce on the field. That's certainly not an entirely bad idea. So, I mean, that's only one way you can use them. Of course, mind you, it is a bit more expensive reinforcing with airborne. Stu-42 opens up, firing over its mighty 105mm gun. Absolutely missing. Volksgrenadiers is forced away. Grenadiers with MG-42 firing. Stu-42 once more fires gallantly. Once more missing. And the anti-tank, of course, sneaking up on the Stu-42. Firing away, missing. And the airborne now leading the charge as well, getting the recoilless rifles. And MG-42 suppressing the Grenadiers. MG-42 gets cleared up. Grenadiers suppressed, but Stormtroopers are there to save the day. Stu-42 pulls out. Stormtroopers counter-attacking. Button grenade on the anti-tank gun. Oh dear, this Stu-42 could be gone, but no, the anti-tank gun gets cleared out. No losses to the Stormtroopers as they fight the airborne. Nebelwerfer on the right from here on the shore. Force Grenadiers moving in support, and airborne moving in towards the anti-tank gun, but not quite moving in. Might want to move in those Grenadiers to support. Or perhaps that's Stuke 4. Rifleman charging. Grenadiers with MG-42 firing. And an assault on the airborne, but doesn't quite seem to be working. Recoilless rifles have been prepared. Stuke 4 and further Grenadiers moving in support. And the Stormtroopers are pulling out. Airborne taking quite a bashing. Stuke leading the charge. Grenadiers moving in support. Another assault. Anti-tank gun immediately gets cleared out by the deft gunnery of the Sturmgeschütz. More assault grenades. Might as well use all that munitions while I have it. Stu-40 has been repaired, and rather figuring in this case I might have the situational luck. And there we go, firing away. And once more not really achieving much, although it still has managed 7 kills altogether. Though the Stu-4 quickly turning that about. Riflemen and airborne are taking heavy losses. Lots of light machine gun fire from the 2 Stukes and the Grenadiers. And once more recruiting that anti-tank gun. But once more, getting cleared out. Not quite having much luck with that anti-tank gun, I fear. And he's still holding that victory pump, but hopefully those grenadiers might change that. Hopefully getting some veterancy too for my infantry finally. A bit too delayed. So I would also say I should have gotten a medic bunker, but you know, that's a bit obvious. But he has taken some rather severe losses in this fight. Again, that's rather probably due to the fact he hadn't got up a tree sensor, and well, not perhaps the best placement of the medic station in the, you know, out in the bloody open. Right in the path of my attacks. Again, you know, you want to display a bit of, you know, intuition as to where might be the best idea where to place a medic station or medic bunker. And right in the path of your enemy's attacks, well, that might be one of the less good places, if you were to inquire me. And again, he rather goes for the wrongs, but he actually never really launches any sort of large attacks here. He goes for the 2 points farthest away from each other, which rather leads to rather unsuccessful and rather schizophrenic defense. Rifleman running straight into the Stu 42, and my goodness, one hit, 5 riflemen dead. Now that Stu 42 is apparently just firing gold at this situation, and there we go, 4 veterans, 3 riflemen gone in one hit. Apparently this Stu 42 can suddenly do no wrong. A bit of sandbags here for these grenadiers to hide behind, provide a bit of protection for them and their precious LMG. And what else? That anti-tank gun looks like it's finally being pulled away from the west, leaving that open for me if I were to decide to push through. In fact, let's speed this up a bit. Yes, again, my apologies. Finally getting a medic bunker up here. Once more leading up with a counter-attack. And now going towards the center. Pioneers laying down mines. No assault rifle for the stormtroopers. In fact, no weapons handed out besides the usual rifles. And what could our American friends be doing? I have no idea. Stormtroopers firing away. Engineers with flamethrowers supporting as well. Firing at the mine, or at least the suspected position of the mine. Stormtroopers fighting against the engineers, killing one right away. Nebula fires. And looks like the Americans are flanking through here, going straight for the Nebula and the anti-tank gun. Calling in a bombing run. Doing not an awful lot of damage. In fact, he's also floating quite a bit of resources. I'm not entirely sure why that. In fact, he runs too close to the bunker, and now the Stug moves in, opening up on his forces. Full infantry needed. No, the stormtroopers apparently hold the line. Stu 42, full grenadiers moving in. Riflemen pulling away. Stormtroopers getting a bit overwhelmed there. Bundle grenade right in the path of everything. Doing quite a bit of damage to the riflemen. Stu continues the hunt for the riflemen. Coming right into the anti-tank gun. Finally perhaps decides, you know, on his side of the river might be a better place to hold. So it took him his while. Of course, the Naval Werfer still stands, just not with a crew. And those Volksgrenadiers might be changing that very soon.
Airborne, ready for duty.
Stug slightly pulling away. This is a rather precarious situation. Airborne moving forwards, medics moving in to pull up some wounded. And the Naval Werfer with veterancy 1 now gets ready to fire. I await you. There we go. Anti-tank gun firing on the second Stug, not quite having much luck, and penetrating the frontal armor. There we go. Nebula for galore, blasting apart the remaining American position in this area of the map. Stormtroopers flanking in a glorious splits assault, I suppose, except there's not much holding them back. And the Stu 42 of grenadiers holding the eastern flank, but no, the riflemen do not care. They must hold the center, except the Sturmgeschütz is moving in to support as well. Where is it? Come on, decide, Dane, decide. There we go. And recruiting the anti-tank gun. Getting ready for a button grenade, killing one rifleman right there. Oh my goodness! Stormtroopers killed, one in fact tumbling down and managing into the river, never to be found again. But that went less than spectacularly well for the Americans. In fact, down to 2 units. Pioneers moving through here with minesweepers finding absolutely nothing, in fact. And this is, I think, large... Oh, wait, he's floating so many resources. I have absolutely no idea why he's doing that. Finally, he's getting something. Now he's going for the tank depot, perhaps Elite Tank Company Tank. Had that in mind all the time, but sort of forgot. Oh dear, I have no idea, but it's certainly not reflecting well, and of course I apologize for that. Again, this was rather chosen due to a lack of time overall. And now getting ready for an assault on my base, getting 2 tank destroyers. Stuke moving in, but getting stopped by those recoilless rifles, blasting away at the Sturm Armory. Not much to hold the base. Grenadiers with another MG42 holding here. And grenades getting exchanged. Not going well for the stormtroopers. Riflemen charging forwards. The veterans 3 chaps. Airborne continuing to reinforce at the front. M10 ready. Riflemen taking some losses in the face of the Pioneers. Veterans 2, which actually gives them elite armor as well. Little known fact. Never if I might be ready to fire at this. And the Stu 42 moves in to assist with this. Second M10 on the way, and we are seeing a supply drop. Might be getting a mortar or a heavy machine gun. He's just getting more munitions. I'm not entirely sure whether this is resulting in a filled route. And we are seeing a bombing run, in fact. Doing a bit of damage, but not really knocking anything out. Now the M10 moves in. Stuke 4 on its own. However shall this go? Oh wait, there's a Tiger. Yes indeed. The M10 is in a bit of what you'd call trouble. And there we go, M10 blown to bits. And a spectacular display of fireworks. And the last one apparently not aware of its comrade's demise. Charges forwards. And gets the worst surprise of its entire life. Well, the rest of its life. Well, let's just beat this up. Gets the Stuke, but that's about it. Tiger pulls away, thus ensuring the M10 can't quite circle about it. And there we go. Game over. The 3rd Infantry Division did lose in the face of the 352nd. And of course, what can we learn from this? Of course, I mean, it rather comes down to the geography of this map. He rather tried to hold these 2 victory points, which, as you might have noticed, are the 2 points farthest away. Which, of course, and then he also proceeded to make that delightful idea of then, of course, placing all of his forces either here or there. Which, of course, also meant that if I attacked in one spot, beat him back, he had to move the forces all the way from here to there. That's a bit of a problem. Not good medic station placement. Too late on the triage center, which certainly also cost him quite a bit in terms of losses. Of course, I definitely could have used that bunker up, and of course, I definitely could have used that MG42, at least another one up here a lot earlier. That was less specifically great for me. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this match. If you did, why not subscribe to your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? This is ImperialDane saying, cheers.